Every vibe coder makes the mistake of wanting to jump straight into coding without understanding the fundamentals and without wrapping their head around exactly what they need to know before they start vibe coding. But what separates out the people that are actually able to build good stuff from the amateurs that just keep getting stuck in error loops is taking the time to familiarize themselves with the fundamentals. And that's what this video and that's what this series is about. This is part 2 of my Vibe Coding for Beginners series, and today specifically we're going to cover the 5 essential tools that every vibe coder needs to know. We're going to be talking about your editor, your terminal, your web framework, your database provider, and your styling library. Let's get into it. First up on the list is you need an editor. I am a big fan of Cursor. This is my go-to. This is what I use in all of my content. This is what I use in my day-to-day workflow. Cursor is my go-to editor. Now, why do I use something like Cursor instead of something like Lovable or V0 or Bolt or any of these other cloud-based editors and AI coding tools? And the reason is because once you get to the point where you want to actually start building anything that needs to be deployed to production, it becomes much easier if you have an actual code editor that just has AI enabled within it, because then you can still do all of the developer things like run things in your terminal. And it's just a lot easier to customize stuff from an actual code editor. Lovable and all of these tools are great. I still use them, but they're better for prototyping because it's a lot harder to customize them to the exact setup that you need. And the more you start to get into vibe coding, the more you start to get into AI powered coding, the more you'll start to want to have more control over that kind of stuff. So the first thing you need is your code editor, and in this case, I'm recommending Cursor. So step 1 is to go ahead and download Cursor, get it set up on your machine, learn the basics of it. All of these tools will have documentation so that you can kind of go through, and I'm going to be providing a step-by-step roadmap to kind of walk you through exactly what to learn and in what order. But if you want a really easy to follow guide walking you through all this one day at a time, I also created the 30-day AI coding challenge. Link to that's down in the description. So if you want more of a guided walkthrough of all this stuff, definitely check that out. But for now, we'll keep going with this. So Cursor is your code editor. That's going to be the first tool you're going to want to use. Go ahead and download that. Warp is another one. And this is actually an AI powered terminal. And the reason I like Warp a lot is because if once you start building real things, and once you start getting into things like NPM packages and using Git version control, you're going to want a terminal that allows you to actually interact with the command line and run a lot of these commands. And the reason I like Warp is because it's got AI built in. And if you don't remember the exact command, you can just type it out in natural language and it'll help walk you through exactly what you need to do. So Warp would be the next tool I'd recommend. That's going to be your terminal. Now, the next thing you're going to want to familiarize yourself with is Next.js. And this is a very popular, very standard framework for building React applications for the web. And the cool thing about Next, well, one of the cool things about Next, is if you go to their website, nextjs.org, they have this Learn button. And this Learn button is going to walk you through everything you need to know to start building with Next. If you aren't familiar with React, which is what Next is built on top of, you can go ahead and take the React Foundations course first. Otherwise, you can start learning with their Next course. And in here, you're going to learn a bunch of different stuff. And you're going to learn how to build applications with Next. And so what I would encourage you to do is to go through this course. But as you're going through the course, rather than typing everything out manually that they're talking about, start to use AI in order to actually create these things, as long as you're following the golden rule of vibe coding, which is to make sure that you understand everything that the AI is generating. The Next.js Learn course is a great way to familiarize yourself with how all this works. Next thing you're going to want to familiarize yourself with is how databases work. My favorite database provider is Supabase. Supabase makes it super easy to get your database set up, your database and your authentication, and this is how you're actually going to store any data that your application is going to need. Supabase makes it really easy to integrate with Next.js. And in fact, if you go to the next course, you'll see that at one point here, chapter 6, they have a section on setting up your database. This is going to use what's called a Postgres database, which is what Supabase uses under the hood. So once you go through this and you understand how a database actually works and its relation to your web application, then you'll be able to go through here to Supabase and get that set up and be able to integrate that into your Next.js project as well. And then finally, my favorite styling framework is Tailwind CSS. Again, in this next course, you'll see there's a section on CSS styling. One of the options they give here is Tailwind, so that'll give you an introduction to how Tailwind works. But essentially, Tailwind is a library that makes it really easy to actually style your web application right here in HTML by constructing different UIs with these utility pattern classes right here. So go ahead and take a look at Tailwind, go through their docs so you can look at how they work. They have a free course here that you can do. And they have a bunch of components and templates and everything that you can get started with. Installation guide. And so those are the 5 essential tools that you want to familiarize yourself with as a vibe coder. Your editor, I recommend Cursor. Your terminal, I recommend Warp. Your framework, I recommend Next. Your database provider, Supabase. And your styling framework, Tailwind. Once you take the time to get up and running with these and actually understand how they all work, you'll be able to be not only much more productive by using AI in order to actually get this stuff up and running, but by familiarizing yourself with how these things actually work, you're going to be able to much better understand what your code is actually doing, what it's generating, and that's going to really help you to make sure that you're actually building things that are real, that are actually going to be functional, that are actually going to work in the real world. Here's exactly what you should do step by step. Step 1, download Cursor, go through the docs, make sure you understand how it works. You don't need to be an expert in it, but you should know the basics. You should know features like tab. You should know how to use the agent. You should know how to use Ask Mode. You should understand how the editor actually works in the first place. So go through the docs, familiarize yourself with how Cursor works. Step 2, download Warp, familiarize yourself with how that actually works. Same thing. It's plenty right now to just go through the docs. People really underestimate documentation, but it can help a ton to just skim through the documentation and understand how the tool works at a high level. Play with it a little bit, try, doing simple things like creating a directory. If you want to get a new project set up, you can try installing some NPM packages, that kind of thing. Step 3 is you are going to go through this Next Learn course. Go to Next website, hit Learn, go through this course. You're going to follow it from start to finish. That's going to teach you the fundamentals of how to build things with Next, but remember that you're going to do it by prompting through Cursor. So as you're going through this course, instead of typing everything out manually that they are typing out, instead what you're going to do is you're going to go through the chapter, you're going to understand the concept, and you're going to prompt Cursor in order to do that specific part for you. And this is going to help you really learn how to actually work with the AI and prompt it to get it to do what you want it to do. Don't expect your output to look exactly the same as the output in the course here. It won't. So one thing you can do is you can either follow along and attempt to build a similar application to what they're building. And what you can do is you can prompt Cursor to do what you think it should be doing, and then you can compare its output to what Next has here. And again, as long as you are making sure that everything that is output by the AI you actually understand, and you're taking the time to go through, ask it questions along the way, all that kind of stuff, you're going to be able to learn very, very quickly how to start building these applications, but you're going to be able to do it in a way to where you're building it on top of a good foundation, so you'll be able to actually build real stuff with it. So that's step 3, go through the Next Learn course. Step 4 is that application that you just built, or a new one if you want to do that, get it set up with a Supabase database and Supabase authentication. And you can do that by going to Supabase, reading their docs, looking at their different offerings, and you're just going to familiarize yourself with how it works. Again, please take advantage of AI to ask both general questions about these concepts that you don't understand and specific questions about Supabase. One of my favorite things to do is just to specifically direct Cursor or Claude or whatever I'm working with to go and look at the docs and tell me how to do something specific. That way I know that it's pulling from the most current information. So step 4 is get Supabase set up and get an actual database and authentication system set up for your project. Step 5 is to get your project set up with Tailwind, learn how it works, go through the documentation, and just make your application look really nice. If you want to take their free course, you can do that. They also have another resource that I like a lot called Refactoring UI. This is a paid product, but it's from the creators of Tailwind. This is a fantastic guide for building things that actually look good, which has always been a little bit of an annoying thing as a developer. When I build something that looks like crap, this really helped me build things that actually look decent, that I'm actually proud to show people. So that's an optional step, but highly recommended. It's a great resource. So as a recap, step 1, get Cursor, learn the basics. Step 2, get Warp, learn the basics. Step 3, take Next Learn course. Step 4, get your app set up with Supabase, learn the basics of how it works. Step 5, make your app look nice with Tailwind. You'll notice that I'm not providing specific information. I'm giving you general things to do. Get this tool, learn how it works, build something with it. And that's because the best way to learn something is to actually just go and do it. You're not going to learn as well if I give you an exact roadmap of, type this out, do this exact thing. But I want to give you a process to follow so that you're not sitting there going, holy crap, I don't even know where to start, and just getting overwhelmed and bailing. Or on the flip side, popping open something like Bolt or Lovable and just throwing in a random prompt for something that you want to build, but having no idea how it actually works under the hood. That's what we want to avoid as well. So this path will get you started actually learning how to vibe code the right way. You'll be able to learn some super popular, common, well-known, well-built tools Most of the time when you use AI tools, they're going to lean towards using these anyway. And so these will get you on the right foot to learning how those actually work. So that is the roadmap and the essential tools that you need to know as a vibe coder. In the next video, I'm actually going to go ahead and build a complete application from start to finish using all of these tools that we went over here. So in the next video, you'll be able to follow along and watch me as I actually use these to build something from start to finish. So I'll see you in part 3 of the series Vibe Coding for Beginners. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.